Welcome to the Radical Truth Tellers. I'm Eva Tenuto and the co-founder and executive director of TMI Project. Me and my fellow workshop leaders, Micah, Dara, and Haley, are so excited to be here to introduce our new cohort. Over the last 2 months, we have been training 7 new workshop leaders, but before they begin leading their own workshops, they are here to share their stories with you tonight. You might be wondering what we mean by radically true stories. And so I want to let you know that we are talking about telling the TMI parts of your story, the part that you usually keep to yourself because of shame, stigma, safety, or cultural expectation. Tonight, our storytellers have decided to share that part of their story with you, despite the hesitation or fear, both for personal liberation and because collectively, we believe that radically true stories have the power to create changes in existing views, conditions, institutions, and even political policies. This is how and why we believe that storytelling is social justice.
And storytelling has always been a powerful component of social justice movement building. We center our programming around 4 social justice initiatives: racial justice, gender equality, LGBTQIA plus rights, and mental health awareness. Tonight, you will hear storytellers who will share their deeply personal experiences. And after the performance, there will be a Q&A where you will be welcome to ask anything you'd like and learn about how sharing these stories impacted them personally and also inspired their work as activists and change makers in their communities.
Before this pandemic time, we told stories in live theaters, detention centers, cafeterias, classrooms, and even the United Nations. So we acknowledge that meeting in this two-dimensional space and reading these deeply personal stories into the void is not normal. But TMI Project is deeply committed to doing whatever we can to help us stay connected, even if we can't be in the same room together. So tonight we will do what we can to make this experience as personal and as intimate as possible, even if it's a little messier. So after each storyteller reads, the rest of the cast will unmute themselves and clap for one another. We may not be able to hear you, but we also welcome you to clap. It's the human exchange that makes the theater come to life. So please clap away.
And you can also virtually virtually clap in the chat section as our cheerleaders let the storytellers know what's resonating and what's making you laugh. And last but not least, we recommend giving yourself the gift of attention. Close the other tabs on your browser and turn off your ringers and devices and view this performance in full screen. And please don't worry, because all the distractions and demands of your life are going to be there when this is over. But right now, you really deserve the opportunity to lose yourself and maybe even find yourself in these stories.
Yes, and one last thing before we get started, I have to thank those who've supported this work and made this show possible. Locally, Ulster Savings Bank and Prestige Toyota, and also all of you, our audience members and individual donors without whom none of this would be possible. Thank you so much for all of your support. And without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the first storyteller of the evening, Eric. Eric is originally from Roxborough, North Carolina, and is now tuning in from Poughkeepsie, New York. He is the program assistant at the Hudson Valley LGBTQ plus Community Center. And in all of our workshops, we always start by sharing one thing that you can't tell by looking at us. And so one thing you can't tell by looking at Eric is that he is an amateur sci-fi novelist. Welcome, Eric.
I'm the first kid in my 5th grade class to grow tits, and lucky me, they're huge. I tried covering them up with my brother's old t-shirts, my UNC hoodie, but it's too late. Mama's already decided that we have to go to Dillard's over the weekend to go bra shopping. Gross. After an hour of pouting in the car, she basically has to drag me through the parking lot into the side of the mall that I never go to. It'll be okay, it's part of growing up. Well, if that's the case, I never want to grow up. It's only 10 a.m., but I can already tell it's going to be a bad day. The sticky sweet smell of orange Julius and Cinnabon is making me sick. I can see the Victoria's Secret coming up. My face gets hot thinking about those models from that fashion show I saw last week. But everything in there is so cute and pink and lacy with animal patterns. Maybe this will be all right. I don't really like pink, but I can get behind a little cheetah print. Cheetahs are cool. But Mom keeps walking past the store. They don't have anything for big girls there. Then I see it. 50 Shades of Beige in bad fluorescent lighting. This is Dillard's. This is hell. Hello, how can I help you? Do you do fittings here? After 15 uncomfortable minutes of lifting and stretching and cold metal on my skin, my mom buys me my first bra. It's light brown, satiny, and has an underwire to give me a little lift. She says she's proud of me for becoming a woman. I can tell she's excited. She always said she wanted a boy and a girl, and I know this is the mother-daughter bonding she's been imagining for my whole life. I don't say anything the whole way back. At 16 years old, I've come to accept my life of nude satin triple D cups and underboob sweat. Hey, boys like big boobs and I like boys, so maybe. But even fantasies of dinner dates and midnight flights with Drake aren't enough to make me happy. What I really want is to look good in a button-up and tie, to be comfortable running laps in gym class, to have other guys see me as one of them. I'm pretty sure that won't happen as long as I'm still shopping at Dillard's. So when I go to college, I get a binder. It's better than nothing, but really it's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone. I still have these triple Ds, and somehow the underboob sweat is even worse. I can't live like this. I don't want to live at all. Now it's 15 years later, but this time I'm in the car with my fiance and I can't stop talking. Today is the day that everything changes. It's still dark, but the sun is starting to come up and bring another hot July morning with it. As we get closer, my heart beats harder and faster. We're in the west end part of Nashville, a place that I almost never go to. We're finally here. I give the receptionist my paperwork and she gives me a number. You can use the screen to keep track of which stage of surgery he's in. I almost throw up when I hear the word surgery. It sounds so scary. I'm really going to be unconscious and let a bunch of strangers look at me naked? What the fuck? Who thought of that? I'm briefly distracted by the faint smell of coffee and bacon. It's been nearly 24 hours since my last meal. Dr. Hickman said I only had to fast for the last 12 hours, but I was too nervous to eat at all yesterday. I didn't want to do anything that could mess this up for me, but now I can hear my stomach gurgling through my hoodie. Soon enough, it's my turn to go back. I kiss Megan goodbye and they wish me good luck. I follow the nurse down a never-ending hallway painted an ugly puke green. They make me take a pregnancy test, which is kind of ridiculous because it's been years since I've done anything that could cause pregnancy, but whatever. Now I'm naked, except for a paper-thin gown and neon yellow hospital socks. A parade of doctors and nurses come in and ask me the same 3 questions. What's your name? What's your birthday? Why are you here? Over and over and over again until I start to forget the answers. Then they wheel me into the operating room. It's bright, white, plain, not like me at all. I can hear the beeps on the heart monitor speeding up. All the people leaning over me are trying to comfort me, but how would you feel? I've been trying to hide my body all my life, and now I'm naked on the table like a Christmas ham. They're about to start the anesthesia. It smells like plastic. I wake up 5 hours later, 13 pounds lighter and confused as hell. There's a dull pain blanketing my entire upper torso that is interrupted every few minutes by sharp pangs of lightning shooting across my chest. It hurts a lot. I'm almost afraid to even take one shaky breath. But I'll never have to go bra shopping again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Our next storyteller is Jonathan, originally from Tuxtepec, Oaxaca, Mexico, but grew up in Southern California. He and his family then moved east to New Windsor, New York, and he now resides in High Falls with his partner, Daisha. One thing you can't tell by looking at him is that he donated a kidney to his brother Raul. Please join me in welcoming Jonathan to the stage.
I grew up in Moreno Valley, 55 miles east of LA in Southern California, in a ranch-style home with clay red tile roof and tan stucco exterior walls. I'm 9 and the youngest of 4 boys. Jeff is 14, Raulito is 17, and Ricardo, we call him Ricky, he's 22. Even though we're a big-ish family, I look up to all my brothers. Everyone is busy and I long for someone to connect to. My parents love me, but they work a lot. My dad works in a manufacturing plant as a maintenance mechanic. Recently, he was offered a job at the same company, but in New York. My parents say that it has better pay and promises a better life for me, Jeff, and Raul. But for now, it means my dad's always traveling back and forth from California to New York and back again. My mom, she also works a lot. She works at Open Bible Preschool. She sells Avon on the side, and she's going to school to get her associate's degree. When she's not at work or at school, she's dealing with my brothers, which leaves little time for me. I'll usually spend my time jumping down from the top bunk of the bed I share with Jeff to play with my WWF action figures on the salmon-colored carpet floor of our bedroom. I'm pretty sure Jeff hates sharing a bedroom with me. Partly because of all my toys, but also I like to sleep with the lights on. And also, when I'm trying to fall asleep, I like to turn on my prized small stereo and listen to Michael Jackson, Madonna, and New Edition, all of the greats. And also, last time I peed the bed was only a few years ago. When I'm not outside making mud tacos or playing in my room by myself, I'll curl up on the floor into the smallest ball I can make of myself, and I'll think about how I might be related to Jesus Christ, or how we all must be related to God. I try to remind myself I have plenty of good things to look forward to, so I should feel grateful. Plus, the fact that I have 3 older brothers who watch out for me and protect me when the challenges arise is certainly something to be happy about. Well, I guess I should say I have 2 brothers still around to look after me since Ricky, he's been gone for a while. I want to be like Jeff and Raul when I grow up, so I draw fake tattoos on my hands just like theirs. Well, when my mom sees what I have done, she has a fit. Quítate ese porquería, and immediately takes off her sandals, which in a Latino household where we affectionately refer to as the chancleta. As for my oldest brother, it feels like only a few days ago, Ricky was babysitting me and taking me with him to see his friends, but he's been away for over a year now, and deep inside, I'm missing him. I can't really tell you where Ricky is. There's a code of the streets that lives in our home. We don't talk about those things. We don't rat each other out. My family's not the talk about your problems or feelings kind of family. My family's more like the kind that says, mijo, don't worry so much. Just find something that makes you happy. I try ignoring the challenges and finding things to make me happy. Like last year after Mom slapped Ricky across the face and kicked him out of our house, they signed me up for kickboxing. Cool. Or when my brother Raul got into some kind of trouble, I got to spend all of winter break in Bakersfield with my friend Sean and his Mormon family. Cool? As a result of this stifling of your feelings approach, I process a lot in my dreams. So on this particular night, I'm having one of my recurring dreams. I'm lying in my top bunk, and suddenly I'm running down a hallway trying to get away from some human-like monster. Who is this monster, and what does it want from me, and why am I afraid of it? Is this some type of symbolic representation of the forces that came for Ricky and now they're coming for me? In the midst of having this dream again, and suddenly, abruptly, it's cut short. I wake up in a haze and everything is a blur. I don't even know if Jeff is in our room. I can't make out the color of my carpet. I don't see any of my wrestling action figures. I don't even know if my nightlight or stereo are on. I only start to gather my wits about me when Jeff appears out of nowhere and gently tells me to be quiet. It's in a surprisingly and soft and caring way that he says, shh. It's almost as if he's consoling me. That gentle shh for my brother is all I could hold on to. I don't know when my parents left for work, but I notice that they're gone. It's as if I'm still in the dream, fragmented reality into bits and pieces. I look up from my 9-year-old perspective. There seems to be hundreds of cops running through our home. I don't remember walking down the hall. Did my little body get lifted up and carried into the living room? Is that why my side still feels achy? I don't remember the moment that Raul got pushed up against the wall, but I see him there with the cop yelling at him. It's loud, but I can't understand any of what's being said. I don't remember when the handcuffs are put on my wrists. I can only recall one police officer telling another, "Take the cuffs off that kid." That kid. He means me. It's a reasonable request. I'm the youngest, but really, we're all kids. Kids, 9, 14, 17 years old. I don't remember how that day ended or what happened the day after, but I know it changed me. I know how many people would look at my brothers and find their situation less than desirable, but I wasn't one of them. I wanted to be like them. And eventually, I did end up using drugs and alcohol and having a few of my own run ins with the police. However, my family's decision to leave that booming town 55 miles east of LA and that neighborhood where we were one of 17 houses to be raided that day, that would be the choice that not only changed my life, but also potentially saved it. My father's job lined up in New York was what brought us east, but it was the love that my parents had for us and their need for us to have more opportunities for a better life. That was the ultimate determining factor. It was that same unconditional love that, in my opinion, helped steer Jeff, Raulito, and Ricky in the direction away from all the troubles kids like us found in Southern California in the late 80s. Now they all have their own full lives and loving families. Years ago, I went to my first yoga class. When I got into the child's pose for the first time, it dawned on me. This is what I instinctively did as a kid to quiet my system and find calm. I got on my knees, curled into a ball, got into the child's pose, and connected with God. I've returned to this practice, but in my own way. At this point, it's no longer a Catholic God or Jesus Christ, but something else more resonant with who I was becoming and also maybe with who I've always been.
Woo! Woo! Yeah.
Powerful.
Bravo, bravo. Woo!
Woo!
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Our next storyteller is Ray. Ray is originally from Brooklyn and is now tuning in from Tivoli. They are currently studying written arts at Bard College, where she is also involved with the campus farm and herbal wellness clubs. One thing you can't tell by looking at him is that he will soon be training to be a beekeeper. Welcome, Ray.
We live on the outskirts of Crown Heights, Brooklyn, the center of Chabad Lubavitch, the Shechina. I'm on the precipice of my bat mitzvah. On my 12th birthday, I'm going to become a grown woman. Any sins I commit will now be my responsibility instead of my parents. My best friend G has started talking to boys. That means I've started talking to boys. Sin number one that I have to take responsibility for. Check. I'm the second to youngest of 10 children. I go to sleep every night to the sound of the washing machine running. My mom tells me that the noise will help me sleep, but it's not loud enough to drown out the sound of my parents yelling at each other. They do this every night. Sometimes about money, sometimes about each other. Sometimes a fight includes one of my older siblings and involves hitting and scratching and someone being pulled by the hair. In school, I'm not taught about domestic abuse and childhood trauma, only that I need to be happy and do mitzvahs so that I can make Hashem, the Rebbe, and my parents proud and bring Mashiach now. I'm allowed to feel sad, but only when it's deemed appropriate, like waiting for Mashiach on fast days and yard sites of our fallen Rebbes. As a so-called girl child, my life is predetermined. I'm to behave in a modest fashion and keep my elbows and knees and collarbone covered at all times. I'm to help with the cooking and keeping the house clean, so my brother and fathers can have a comfortable environment to learn in. The only way I'm going to leave my parents' house is when I marry an eligible bacher. But I'm 12 and I want out now. So when G starts talking to boys, I figured this is the only way I can get a head start on the whole marriage thing. The only problem is I don't really like boys. I may have gotten my period already, but I guess I'm still missing the hormones necessary to convince me that kissing or even holding hands with a boy is appealing. But G is doing it, so that means I'm doing it. I get paired off with a friend of the boy that she's seeing. Thankfully, he's shy and our relationship consists of holding sweaty hands and meeting for walks where our parents won't see us. I only keep dating him because it keeps me and G close. My friendship with G is everything. She's my next door neighbor. I don't invite anyone else from school to my house. I make excuses. I tell them we have a dog who doesn't like strangers. I don't want anyone to find out I live in an unhappy home, but G is always there. She knows my parents fight. She's witnessed it many times. She always sits with me quietly until my mother asks her to leave. My mother doesn't want to feel the eyes of a child she didn't birth witnessing her breakdown. We cement our friendship in our shared secret of boys and skipping school. It's a dangerous game to play in Crown Heights. The walls have ears and every mother is a yenta. The day after Passover break in 7th grade, G and I decide we aren't ready to go back to school, and instead spend the day wandering the Kings Plaza Mall. We go to Old Navy and try on jeans in the dressing room and dream about a day when we can wear them for real. The next day, I'm called out of class and asked to go to the principal's office over the loudspeaker. When I get there, I find G sitting in a purple vinyl chair with armrests, trapped in front of Mrs. Jacobson and Mrs. Altheim. I take the seat to the left of her. What were you doing at the mall? Do you really think it's a good idea to be spending your time with this shtuss? This is the kind of thing that always leads to talking to boys and smoking cigarettes. Do you want to do those things? I sit there, my hands in my lap and my eyes in my hands. When my mom finds out, she tries to be nice about it. She takes me out for bagels. She's more concerned about how it reflects on her parenting than what it means for me to be a child who's missed 60% of the 7th grade. I wonder how your friend is doing, she says. I bet her mom isn't being so understanding. She's right. G is sent to Florida to live with her sister and go to school there, to be away from me and my influence. With the threat of losing her, I panic. It feels like an earthquake, like the land I'm standing on has detached from everything around it, and I'm floating in the Atlantic somewhere. Despite the effort to keep us apart, distance makes the heart grow fonder, and we become even more codependent. We reunite when we're 15. She's been kicked out of the school in Florida for using a straightening iron on Shabbos and returns to Brooklyn. In 10th grade, I drop out of school too, and together we start taking GED classes. Now that she's back, I do all I can to keep her. If there's an argument, I take her side without question. A choice to be made? Well, what's her preference? When I turn 18, we get matching tattoos of the coordinates of our houses, and a year later of the actual houses. I abandon myself so I can hold on to her. And we need to hold on to each other so we can both get out. Her slow trajectory out of the community is like a counterbalance to my chaotic rocket launch. But together, we begin to discover a subpopulation of people who have also left ultra-Orthodox backgrounds, commonly known as OTD, which means off the derech or off the path. As a unit, we begin to make new friends. We even combine our names into one because people started using our names interchangeably. I begin to feel suffocated by our closeness. It's like the gravitational force we shared can only exist if I don't expand. I start to intentionally build relationships with new people and unintentionally pull away from her. In 2018, I get a job at the community organization we're part of that's for OTD people. One day, she comes to help me set up for an event. We decide to grab a drink in the neighborhood. The organization is based in the financial district in Manhattan, so people won't be easily spotted going in and out of the building as they would be in Brooklyn. We sit on the edge of our seats, sipping margaritas. G says, I'm feeling sad that we aren't best friends anymore. We're just friends now. I instinctively deny it. There's no way I could exist without being intertwined with her, but she's right. A few months after that, we stopped talking. I sometimes look at the tattoos we share with a feeling similar to regret, but closer to a calm sadness. In those moments, I do my best to find a reason to be grateful for her. I was a really unhappy kid. Without her, I don't think I would be where I am today. And yet, here I am today, without her.
Wow.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you, Ray. Our next storyteller is Perla. Perla is originally from Merida, Yucatan, Mexico, and is now tuning in from Kingston, New York. She works at Radio Kingston as the technical coordinator, but she is also a comedian and a mother. One thing you can't tell by looking at Perla is that in college, she decided to study French instead of English. And currently, she can't speak French. She struggles with English and she is forgetting her Spanish. Please welcome Perla.
The line to board the plane is long, but it doesn't matter now. I'm only a couple hours from landing in Mexico. I haven't visited my people in 5 years, and I can't avoid this feeling of inmensa soledad. What's the English word for that? Hey Siri, translate inmensa soledad for me. Sorry, I didn't get that. Ugh. Why do I bother? I think Siri is xenophobic. I Google it. Immense solitude. When I came to America, I thought I would be fine. I knew about the wall, not Donald Trump's wall. I'm talking about the invisible barrier that divides Americans and Mexicans. It's always there and doesn't let us get to know each other. I thought that wouldn't be the case for me. I grew up in a city, listening to 90s music. I loved No Doubt and Nirvana. I watched The Simpsons and Friends. I watched almost every Coen Brothers movie and Wes Anderson's movie. I played Nintendo and Rescue Princess Peach many times. I can even rap the intro song of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, in Spanish. Y esta es la historia, pongan atención, de cómo mi vida se transformó. Cambió de arriba abajo lo que nunca pensé y llegué a ser el príncipe de todo Bel-Air. I am just going to blend in, I thought. But now I'm here in the United States. I'm at a friend's house. They turn on the TV and in an attempt to be nice to me, they changed the channel to put on a Mexican novela. We have been friends for 5 years. Doesn't he know I hate novelas? I tell another American friend, I don't trust Donald Trump. They turn back to me and said, if you don't like him, go back to your country. Everyone seems to think they know me because I am Mexican. They think they know the music I like, the food I like. But in a country of 120 million people, I can guarantee we are all different. It's not that I don't love my roots. Play me a cumbia. I will polish the floor dancing. It's a feeling of never being seen as an individual and the lack of interest people show to actually get to know me. But it doesn't matter now. I'm about to land in my country. I can't wait to see the beautiful green landscape. My city is mostly evergreen. Well, except when the flamboyant tree blooms. Then my city is red, like the embroidered collar of the mestiza's traditional dress. Or when the lluvia de oro tree blooms, then my city is yellow. When the maco leaf flourishes, then my city is pink and matches the sunset on the beach. It's always beautiful, and mostly it's green. I look down. It's not so green no more. What happened? My city has changed. My friends are here to pick me up. We go out for some salbutes. Mariana tells me, you should ask for a salad. God, you gained so much weight. Hey, don't shame my body. Ooh, she says, I forgot you are a progressive American now. Something has changed. I am shocked about our conversations. Some of my friends are against feminism. Some other friends don't see the need to change our language to be more inclusive. What's that Latinx crap? I wish to have a smart and eloquent answer, but I am very distracted, judging Mariana's high heels, long lashes, and long nails. But why am I so judgy? Not so long ago, I used to wear high heels, long lashes, and even longer nails. We finally talk about politics. I say, I think we should question our capitalist narrative. The United States is a rich country, but I don't think wealth equals peace. My friend turns back at me and says, you don't even live here anymore. Keep your opinion for yourself. Well, I guess no matter where you go, politics are the same hell. But I feel sad. I am not American enough. And now I am not Mexican enough. And now in Mexico, I am starting to have these feelings again that I had in the United States. What was the name for that? Oh yeah. Inmensa soledad, immense solitude.
Mhm. Gorgeous.
Guapa.
Thank you so much, Perla. Our next storyteller is Rain. Rain is originally from Kingston, New York, and is now tuning in from Edison, New Jersey. He is a multi-genre writer who focuses on uplifting the trans community through his work, and he is also a proud cat dad. One thing you can't tell by looking at him is that he has a quiet obsession with deep sea marine life. Really, he says, look up what a siphonophore is. It is so freaking cool. Welcome, Rain.
Where's that smell coming from? This is the question my fiance has been asking for the past month. A relatively harmless question if the answer was something easily fixable like the trash or the litter box. However, today when they asked me this as we crawl into bed for the night, it breaks me. I know where the smell is coming from and what has to be done to dispel it, and I know the time has finally come to fess up. Smell my breath, I say. They do, and They make the exact face I was worried about them making. I'm the reason our apartment has been taken over by a strange smell, a combination of rubbing alcohol and sugar. I've known for a month now that this smell means there's something wrong with me, but I'm not ready to face it. My brain's all fuzzy and I can't concentrate on anything. I can't sleep a full night because I'm getting up every 20 minutes to go to the bathroom. I can barely keep down food and I feel like I'm constantly on the edge of passing out. And then, of course, there's that smell. It hangs on my breath and tinges everything I taste. So, like any self-respecting American, I take to Google to figure out what's wrong with me. And I'm horrified by the results. I'm in diabetic ketoacidosis, the dangerous precipice an undiagnosed diabetic hangs on before they fall into a diabetic coma. I spent the past month convincing myself that this simply can't be the case. There's no way I'm diabetic. The word feels dirty on my tongue. Even more than that, I cannot go to the doctor. I don't trust doctors. I'm fat and I'm trans. Because of that, doctors are notoriously bad at taking care of me. It's just 3 years ago, and I go to an endocrinologist to get a routine refill of my testosterone. I'm trapped in his exam room for nearly 6 hours, and he treats me like I'm a lab experiment. The appointment starts seemingly normal, at least for me. I go through the uncomfortable, I'm here because I'm trans small talk with the nurse. After keeping me waiting alone in the room for an hour, the doctor arrives. He seems amazed that a real life trans person is in front of him and asks me a ton of invasive questions. When you were little, how did you know you wanted to be a boy? How big has your clit grown? What happened to your breasts? Do you want to fuck men anymore? He leaves and comes back with long stretches of time in between. He stops one of his interns from seeing another patient to instead come in and ogle at me. During those stretches of time, he sends in research assistants and nurses to question me further. As I sit in the windowless room, I text my fiance, I feel like an animal. Finally, after what feels like an endless rotation of researchers and nurses saying that they are collecting data for research I didn't consent to, a nurse comes in with a gown. Why do I need this? I ask. She says, the doctor wants to examine you. Take off all your clothes, including your underwear. I persist further, asking why that's necessary. She doesn't have an answer. I say I'm uncomfortable doing that and break down crying. I see the empathy in her eyes, and she says she'll see what she can do. I'm sure she does her best, but the doctor comes back into the room. We're all one big family here. You help us, we help you. He closes the door behind him. In order for me to refill your hormones, you need to undress completely for me so I can study your body. I don't feel comfortable with that, I say. I know there's no need for him to do so, and that something terrible will happen if I oblige. He looks hungry when he stares at me. He insists on seeing my genitals, and I keep telling him no. I contemplate just getting up and simply walking out. However, I'm desperate for my hormones, so I compromise with him, only removing my shirt. He lays me down and points out parts of my body to 3 separate research assistants. He continues to pressure me to take off my pants, and I keep refusing. So he denies me my hormones. He mumbles something about being uncooperative and tells me if he can't see me, he'll need to do an ultrasound. He writes me a referral for an ultrasound, putting Miss in large letters in front of my name on the referral. Now, my fiance and I sit together on the bed. Despite my fear of doctors, the look of worry on their face for the last few weeks has been too much for me. My fiance can see I've been struggling and shrugging it off. That's why I know I have to crack and fess up. I can't keep putting them through this, and I can't keep putting myself through this. I let it all out. I say the words, what if it's diabetes, out loud for the first time. I'm so scared to admit it, I'm shaking. No matter what doctors have done to me, I know I am experiencing a medical emergency and I have to see someone immediately. With the support and guidance of my partner, I work up the courage to get myself into the office and receive a diagnosis, insulin, and lots of paperwork. The smell is gone from our house now, and the world is no longer fuzzy. I have to be honest, I still don't trust doctors, but I realized if I had waited even a couple more days to make that appointment, I would have ended up hospitalized and possibly with severe nerve damage. This experience has helped me realize I deserve health, even if I have to fight for it, even if it can be traumatizing to receive sometimes. I am not just my BMI or my hormone regimen or an experimental treatment. I don't exist to help prove doctors' theories, and it is their job to help me. I am a complex human with complex needs, just as all of us are. It is impossible to define all of me in a single medical chart, and I dare a doctor to try and tell me otherwise.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Indeed. Amazing.
Hell.
So good.
Thank you, Rain. Whew. Our next storyteller is Capely. Capely is originally from the Isle of Manhattan and is now tuning in from Crown Heights, Brooklyn. They are a mom, a classically trained actor, and an aerial rope dancer. One thing you can't tell by looking at them is that as an adult, they have never owned and barely even watched the television. Take it away, Capely.
It is the summer of 2017, and I am living my best lesbian life in the California Bay Area and decide to go to a sex play party. These parties have been a great way to introduce myself to the queer community. I prefer them over bars and nightclubs. No one is piquing my interest until I see him. He's about my height and looks vaguely Asian. He reminds me of Mason, my best friend growing up, who I was in love with. She got made fun of for her bowl haircut, but she was tough, wore jeans, and got dirty and sweaty during recess. I was in love with her because she didn't mind doing my hair in the classroom, slipping her fingers through my greasy braids and butterfly barrettes I wore to be more of a girl for my parents. Now, at this sex party, I'm drawn to this man, but I'm a little confused about why he's here since I thought this was a ladies only party. I approach. I find out his name is Eli, and I ask if he'd like to dance. When I get a good look, I see that he has scars across his chest. I freeze for a hot second. He's a trans man. We end up spending the entire night together. It is overwhelming to the senses and very exciting. The next weekend, Eli invites me to his home. I accept his invitation. We get to know each other, and I ask him a lot of slightly inappropriate questions. How long have you been trans? How did you know? When did you come out? Is your family cool with it? Your friends? Do you miss your other life? Has your life ever been threatened? You gonna get any more surgeries? Are you going to be on T forever? Eli answers them all and then calmly asks, is it possible you could be trans? No, I say, wide-eyed and a little too quickly. My brain is boiling. Am I insulted that he thought I could be trans? A little. Am I embarrassed? Yup. Did I just mess up my chances of having more delicious sex with him? Deep down inside, I think back to my childhood girl boy days and wonder if he has picked up on something I can't quite put words to. Growing up, I'm considered a tomboy. I wear dungarees and button down shirts and run around the schoolyard with the boys as best I can, since I don't really want a girl hanging out with them. I'm tall for my age and one of the few Black students at the Upper East Side Public School. I'm often picked last for activities, and in plays, I'm usually chosen for the part no one wants, the father. I think it's cool to play the dad. I think it's because I love my dad, but maybe it's because I get to feel like a man. I wonder if the other students realize that I'm a girl boy. Can they tell? I'm an only child and have many conversations with myself about this. Now, capely, I say to myself, you know you're not like the other girls. I know they're so annoying and cliquey. You'd rather play handball with the boys and wrestle. That's true. Why do the girls giggle so much and want to stab the boys with sporks? Who knows? But I hope you don't grow up to be like them. You know you'd rather be a boy. Yeah, I know. Nicole already has big boobs, and that looks like the worst. Oh, right? Fingers crossed. Tomboy doesn't even feel right. Who is Tom? My parents never say anything outright about homosexuality or gender, but I sense disapproval and perhaps a slight disgust from fleeting facial expressions I catch when no one thinks I'm paying attention, or when insulting jokes are made that no one thinks I will understand. I see and I understand, and it silences me. Perhaps this is why I moved to California 3,000 miles away from them. Eventually, I moved back to Brooklyn in debt from moving 8 times in 7 months and living insecurely in the most overpriced housing region in the nation. Though through all the moves, the one constant is my curiosity. One night, curled up in the safety of my worn couch, heart pounding, I Google transgender and uncover a whole world I had never known about. Facebook groups for support, private chat rooms discussing medical procedures, people asking opinions about their new names, the trans section on porn sites, websites for binders, plastic penises, pronoun jewelry, and lots of anger, fear, pride, and advocacy. I'm not sure what to think, but the sense of searching for or uncovering my true self reminds me of what it felt like when I came out queer over a decade ago. For fun, I tried taping my chest flat. I don't think I have body dysmorphic disorder because I love myself just as I am. My pecs are athletically robust, and I've never really owned or wore a bra. I stare in the mirror, perplexed, the smug smile sliding off my face. Dang, I look good. Maybe I don't need these anymore. All the new information and each fresh revelation spark another identity question. Am I becoming or am I unlearning? It's probably a mixture, and that makes sense. For years, I've heard people whisper, is that a man or a woman? And felt menacing stares as I sauntered by. I am called sir while waiting in lines and questioned when in the ladies' room. My broad shoulders and long legs have mystified men who've threatened my life when just minutes prior were trying to ask me for my number. Now, in the midst of the gender revolution, society has caught up to my kid definition of non-binary and gender fluidity. The childhood wish to be a boy was born out of the pain of not being seen as androgynous or all genders. I now know I was born a swirl of male and female energies, a boy girl, a girl boy, a Victor Victoria. It's a relief to finally claim my lady man status. It's been with me all along.
That's right.
Dang.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mwah.
Oh, it's hard to do these introductions because each storyteller is taking my breath away and bringing tears to my eyes. Thank you, Capely. Our final storyteller tonight is Blake. And Blake is originally from Colorado Springs and is now tuning in from High Falls, New York. He is the Operations and Programs Manager here at TMI Project. One thing that you can't tell by looking at him is that one time he was arrested and detained in South Korea on international drug trafficking charges, and he was found innocent. Please welcome Blake.
I'm standing inside of a giant peach costume, staring out at the congregation through two peepholes, dancing my heart out to a song about the ninefold fruit of the Spirit. I'm the lead in the fall youth choir production Fruity Tunes, a spin-off of the famous Christian animated series VeggieTales, singing, He gives love, joy, peace, and patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. He gives gentleness and self-control. That's the ninefold fruit of the Spirit. A cast of other elementary school kids twirl around and blast their love for Jesus Christ on the cross, all from inside a heavenly host of other fruit costumes, including a bunch of grapes, which symbolize goodness, the raisinets, who represent self-control, and an apple, love. The apple also has an evil worm inside, a hand puppet that snakes out the top, another symbol for how our love for God can become infected by sinful, dirty things that fester inside each of us. And I love the climax of the play when the worm slithers back down into the apple while a robust chorus of children, not dressed up as fruit, shout over and over to the worm, "You are the devil and the devil is bad! You are the devil and the devil is bad!" We receive thunderous applause and a standing ovation. As the praise settles around me, I feel safe and secure and seen and deeply connected to God. I close my eyes and I feel Him right there with me, Him with a capital H, guiding me and channeling His great will for my humble life. This all takes place at First Presbyterian Church, a foreboding building covered in tinted windows that stretches an entire city block on Bijou Street in downtown Colorado Springs. This church is my second home. I wander the hallways and sneak into every deacon's office. I spend long hours in the sanctuary scribbling notes on empty donation envelopes with meaningful, moving messages like, I like butts, or I really like butts. I discover the secret passageway behind the choir loft and the deep sense of peace looming back there. A soundproof safe haven. I spend hours lying on the ground in that narrow space, staring up at the dim lighting on the ceiling, wondering about what God looks like, and praying that He will take this thing away from me that I feel so deeply ashamed of, this thing about myself I know is wrong because the Bible told me so. And I come to Jesus 4 different times at First Presbyterian Church, all the while wrestling with a truth inside my head I know I can't speak, because if I do, I'm not going to be welcome in this home away from home. My parents get divorced in 2001. I'm in middle school. My brother has been shipped off to college in Oregon, which means I get to move into the basement and have my own bathroom. I'm elated because this newfound privacy means I'll have more opportunities to explore my dirty little secret. What starts as innocently purchasing People magazine at Borders bookstore, clipping photos of Justin Timberlake and JC Chazé and hiding them in a stockpile in a secret spot between my underwear and sock drawers slowly transforms into exchanging more illicit photos of men down to their skivvies on AOL Instant Messenger late into the night. One day, I'm at my father's house alone on the computer. I know I'm going to be alone for a while, so I log on to LimeWire and I type in 7 measly letters. GAYPORN. Gay porn. And immediately thousands of results pop up. I start to download all of them. I can't stop. That first night, I download, then delete over 200 photographs. I'm 15 or 16 when I finally realize I can print porn off the computer at my dad's house, then hide it in my backpack and transport it back and forth between the houses. I navigate to a new LimeWire search and begin my routine. Those 2 flight attendants having performative sexual intercourse on the back of the plane ought to do it today. I print the images off as quickly as possible and I race to shove them into my backpack. And then remember that there are built-in cabinets in my bathroom in the basement at my mom's house. So I hurry back and I tear open the bathroom cabinets and I pull out the towels and there it is. That little curled piece of wallpaper sticking up in the back corner, which I carefully peel away to reveal the original shelf, which distracts me for a moment because all I can think as a blossoming homosexual is, what idiot thought that lining all this beautiful woodwork with this cheap-ass wallpaper was gonna look cute? And so begins a routine. I build up a hefty arsenal of 8.5 by 11 printer paper porn and fill the hiding spot, and I feel like the master of hiding things until one day when I come home from school and I find my mom sitting in the kitchen waiting for me with the complete stack of printer paper pornos sitting on the table in front of her, having been excavated by a sleuthy Giovanna the lovely woman who cleans our house. You want to explain this filth, Blake? My mom demands in her scary, serious voice. And my stomach turns upside down. I've been caught. I can feel God frowning at me. I asked, you want to explain this filth? I don't know what to say. No matter where I turn, no matter what lies I can muster up in a matter of seconds, all roads lead to hell. Maybe deeper. I disassociate and can't recall what's said or what's happening. It takes weeks of awkward silence before my mom finally broaches the GAYPORN subject again. After she spends hours consulting with the Fab Three, God, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, she calls the youth pastor at First Pres, who we'll call Mike, and schedules some time to chat. I walk into Mike's office at the church and sit down. I'm devastated and embarrassed. Mike is a kind man with a handsome face and a rapidly receding hairline. He used to be an actor in Los Angeles and even had a few lines in the really bad Godzilla remake starring Matthew Broderick. About 2 or 3 sentences in, I stop listening and start imagining what Mike looks like naked, which is counterproductive to his intentions, my mom's intentions, and what they're both saying are God's intentions, but I can't help it. In my teenage gutter brain, his shirt and pants are gone. Poof, and that's all I can focus on. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Mike says, I had my own experiences with men when I was living in LA, but my ears perk up. I feel my heart start to beat rapidly. Did Pastor Mike just come out to me? He goes on to say, even though he had these multiple experiences with men in California, that ultimately all roads lead back to God. He then reads Leviticus 20:13. If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood is upon them. I leave feeling confused because I'm pretty sure that indeed my youth pastor came out of the closet to me while trying to push me back into my own, but I also leave feeling humiliated and disgusted with myself. But you know what? Deep down, I don't care. What am I supposed to do? Truly. What am I supposed to do? When I finally officially come out to my mom in a California pizza kitchen, a few years later, she acts like she doesn't expect it, but I know she's known for a long time. It's the beginning of a long and winding road to understanding, acceptance, and forgiveness for both of us. But years later, it does happen, and these days, we're better than ever. This past summer, I drive across the country to help my mom Sister and nephew pack up and say goodbye to Colorado Springs. They're moving to Oregon, and I stay a couple of days after the departure to tidy up loose ends. I call my friend TT, and we meet up in the downtown Colorado Springs at the church parking garage across the street from First Presbyterian Church. And I stand on the second floor as the summer breeze touches my face, and I stare into the tinted windows. And I catch a glimpse of myself, dancing in my fuzzy peach costume, singing my heart out in Fruity Tunes, and can't help but laugh at the irony. I put up my hand and I wave. My younger self waves back. We both know exactly who he is supposed to be.
Yay! Go Blake.
Yes, Blake.
Lamb.
Oh my goodness, that was so good. I would like to invite all of the storytellers back to the virtual stage for a curtain call. Welcome back. Turn your cameras on and join us again. Give yourselves and each other a round of applause. So good. Guys were incredible, really incredible, each and every one of you. Oh my goodness, it's a lot to take in and so beautiful. It's like heart expanding and life affirming. I really, really thank you all. We are going to go into a Q&A, and if you have questions from the audience, please put them in the Q&A section of Zoom. We can't keep up in the chat with all of the other messages that are coming through. So if you have an actual question, just put it in the Q&A and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can. Before we move to that, I just wanted to also give a special thanks and shout out to Micah for being behind the scenes, but also to Micah, Haley, and Dara for helping me with this last 2 months of training. Thank you. And we do a lot of jazz hands whenever we can at TMI Project. It's our silent applause. So thank you guys. It's been a real collective effort, and I appreciate you all. As the questions are starting to roll in, I just want to put out a general one for anyone who would like to answer. I just want to know, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to share your story, either through the process of the workshop or here tonight? Is there anyone who would like to take that one? Jonathan, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all so much for everybody who listened and all of my fellow presenters. Amazing. The experience was like a doorway for me, a doorway for healing, for experiences that I hadn't given much thought to for a long time. And the small nuance and the details that you and Micah and Dara and Haley and everybody helped bring out of us. It was just so powerful, and more than anything, to hear and to learn to hear other people. It's just, I'm moved and I'm so honored, and it was just such a beautiful experience. But ultimately, it does feel like a doorway that I'm walking down this hall. It's almost like that dream, and then pops this doorway, and we could just exit out of it when people like everybody who's here has the courage to just walk through it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, I want to echo what Jonathan was saying. That definitely had a very similar experience for me. There were a lot of memories locked away that this process helped unlock, and I'm really excited to know that that's possible. I really didn't think it was. And, you know, having the tools to be able to go in there is pretty life-changing for me. So I'm just really grateful for that experience. And in terms of like, how does it feel this evening? I just feel so incredibly blessed to be here with all my fellow storytellers. I feel like our bond was like just clenched in together. We're like, that's it. We're there for life now. So yeah, I'm just really overwhelmed with love and appreciation.
Thank you, Ray. I was actually thinking one of the reasons why we're doing this tonight is so, as workshop leaders, everyone who's here and who's gone through this training can identify and remember what it feels like to guide people through this process and to help them go through the performance, which takes a lot of courage to muster. And so to be able to go through that yourselves before you start guiding other people through is such a crucial part of this experience. So I'm curious about if there's anything that you're looking forward to in terms of taking other people through this process now that you're on the other side of this performance. Rain.
I think the thing I'm most excited about is to just keep creating moments like this where people share things that they would never share before, and then they go out in the world and they inspire others to do the same thing, and they realize that if you say these things out loud, the world isn't going to fall apart, and spread that sense. I think that's something that we all need right now, and I'm so excited to watch people realize that they have the ability to tell the stories that they don't think that they can tell, and support other people and be in just a space and be loved.
Great, thank you. Eric?
Yeah, I'm super glad to have gone through this. It feels like a celebration, but I'm uh I'm excited to have someone like me who is not really a performer, is not at all an extrovert, and to who maybe is hesitant to be in front of people, because I see the number like 84 at the bottom of the screen, and that's a lot of people, I feel, but it doesn't feel impossible anymore, and I want to show other people that, you know, you can do lots of things that maybe you didn't think you could originally.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. That's an important part. Perla?
Yes, when I moved to America, I met so many immigrants and people who maybe don't speak in English, they speak Spanish, and they had so many stories, incredible stories about living here and leaving behind everything they knew. And it's just every time I heard one of these stories, I always thought, you need to write about it, you need to start a podcast, you need to, someone needs to know. And it's so I just can't believe that I have the opportunity that that I can actually help them to write these stories and give them a space, a safe space to write, and that we can have an audience that is interested about these stories and to connect. I am very excited about that.
Yeah, thank you, Perla. And Perla, you bring up an important point that this training is a milestone for TMI Project as an organization. Now that we have all of you on our team, we're going to be able to expand our reach so widely. And one of the things that we're so excited about is we're going to be able to start having TMI Project workshops in Spanish, which is unbelievable. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's incredible. Um, we have a couple questions that are coming in from audience members. Someone wants to know, Ash has asked, Jonathan, about your story. The use of the present tense felt so powerful and made the emotional climax of your piece even more impactful. They're curious about your writing process. Did you know right away that you wanted to write the story from your 9-year-old self perspective, like on an intuitive level, or did this decision come out of the revision process?
Yeah, I wish I could take credit for it. But, you know, through the process of this workshop, there was a couple of formats that we were suggested to look at. And that was definitely one of them, is taking this present tense moment of the experience and writing from it. But I just want to say there was another question or comment somebody said about the origin story. And I think we all have that, you know, that moment that kind of catapults us into this present tense. And in retrospect, that's what it feels like when when we were taking the story from this childhood or from our past and writing in that present tense. It's in the origin of our becoming or our stepping into who we are. Yeah, that's it's a powerful moment, I think, for all of us to just be in that place and to share that with you all from that moment that it was taking place. So yeah, for sure. But I can't take the credit for that.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we do to change the free write or an essay into an actual monologue where the stories become alive and are almost being lived in front of the audience so that you can have that intimate connection. It's something that we do and apply to all of the TMI stories that we work with before they make it to the stage. So it was interesting to me that somebody in the audience picked up on that and can feel that that was part of what made the story come to life. Someone else is asking, did you know immediately what story you needed to tell, or did it reveal itself to you over time? Is there anybody who hasn't answered a question capably?
Oh, yeah, I'd love to answer that one. I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what this process would be like. Um, and I remember when we first started doing the free writes, my first free write was kind of random, but then I heard other people share their stories. I didn't even share the first time, but other people shared their stories and I got inspired. I was like, oh, okay, this this really is, you know, a brave space, a safer space. I really can dig a little deeper. And so when more techniques came out to, you know, pull stories out of us, which are phenomenal. I've been telling all my friends about these workshops. I began to discover who, not even who I was, but like what I was interested in, or what, I don't even know how to express it, but there was like, it was just pulled out of me. Different specific moments in my life were pulled out of me from these targeted questions. And from the questions themselves, I could make connections. And then with those connections, the story kind of built itself, which was like amazing to me. And I had no idea what I was about to say, what I was going to write. And so when it came out of me, it was a surprise to myself. And 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 people were asking me like, ooh, what is the story you're gonna tell? And I almost didn't even know how to describe it. I didn't know how to describe it. And it wasn't until I heard like somebody else describe it, I was like, oh, right. This is sort of my my identity origin story. And and it was so clear. It just just came more and more clear through the free writes, and then surrendering the writing to Ava, who did the editing, and it became this beautiful monologue. And then there was more editing, and then it just became more and more detailed. And it was an experience I never would have imagined it to come out the way it did. Um, and I really still to this day, like I really feel like it's not like I don't even know exactly how it happened. if I really, really think about it, from a free, a few 10-minute free writes and then this beautiful monologue. So I'm really grateful for the process and the space that the container to hold it all in.
Yeah, it's so wild. Capely, you kind of like wrap up the whole creative process that we bring people through every time. And I'm really excited for you all now to be able to lead the process, because the most mind-blowing thing is that it works every time. Like, you don't, I remember in the early days of doing this work being like, is it gonna work again? And it just keeps working every time. So it's really a beautiful process to bring people through. Somebody else is asking if any of you had any kind of fraud syndrome pop up during the course of the workshop, and if anybody wanted to talk about that. Blake?
Oh, heck yeah. That was like, it's strange because I've been working at the organization for 3.5 years now in an operations capacity. And so the artist in me has sort of taken a back seat while I'm in the TMI project space, which I love. But when I entered the workshop leader training, instantly there was that little, devil on my shoulder who was like, "You can't do this. You should stay in operations, girl." And I started to sort of like second guess myself a lot, which I think is something that a lot of artists can relate to in any sort of capacity. But because this work is so specific and personal, it made it all the more like, it was easier for me to get in my head because I was already going to like places that like I hadn't been to in a while. But gratefully and thankfully, there were 6 other people, technically 10 other people, who were holding space for me. I think is how Capely just so beautifully put it. In this container where it was like, yeah, I can like bounce around in my own head and like face this imposter syndrome head on, but ultimately like stepping through the imposter syndrome is the only way to like get out of it. And I think tonight was like the ultimate like release of that. Like I didn't just release the balloon of like my younger self. I also released like a different kind of balloon that was like sort of stepping back into my artist self a little bit, which I've been away from for a while. So that's been really cool, and like a really rewarding part of the process.
Thank you so much, Blake. And I just want to thank the audience also. You all have been, it's such a strange thing to do these performances on Zoom and not be able to hear you and not be able to see you and not be able to make that like in-person connection. But you're making yourself so known through the chat and did the whole way through the performance that I really feel like you all are there and engaged, and really appreciate all of these amazing questions too. I don't think we're going to be able to get to all of them. So if you do have questions that we don't get to and you would like the answers, just email us and we will get you the answers to those questions. I'm going to end with this one, which is from Tallulah, which is, what's something you realized through the process of telling your stories that you didn't know before? Anybody feel called to that one? Eric?
Oh, yeah. Well, really quickly, one thing is I've always known I had a weird relationship with my body, but I didn't know how much of it was really just centered around my chest and I didn't know how much of a relief it was to get top surgery. I was just like, yeah, this is cool, really expensive, but it didn't really feel like a relief in the moment. But now it's just reflecting on that. Finally, it's only been a year, and it really life changing. And yeah.
It's interesting. Sometimes you write stories about something that you know about yourself, and sometimes the process of writing stories lets you know something about yourself. And those two things are always so interesting to me, how it unfolds. Anybody else want to chime in on that one? Well, I am so grateful for all of you for being here. I just wanted to let the audience know a couple ways that you can stay connected to TMI Project if you'd like to. If you're not already getting our newsletter, you can go to tmiproject.org and sign up, and you'll find out about all the things that I'm about to tell you, because we always send them out in our monthly newsletters first. But we do have an incredible podcast, so you can hear our stories from anywhere, listening in your car, on your walks. So please subscribe and listen to the podcast. We have season 1, which was Tragedy plus Time equals Comedy, and season 2, Black Stories Matter, which also has a listening and discussion guide that you can download for free. Capely and Eric are going to start their first workshop in April. They are leading Black Trans Stories Matter. It's the first time we've ever done it. We did a national call for storytellers. We have storytellers from all over the country, and they are going to be reading their performance of true stories on June 12th. You can register to attend, and you can also sign up to become a host. We have different groups and schools and organizations hosting live screenings of the event all across the country already. It is free. We hope that people will watch from all over. The stories are going to be incredible. And I saw some people ask if we were going to have a recording of this. Yes, we are. We're also going to be doing a live stream with as many of the storytellers as we can gather that have worked with us for the last year, and do all of those stories on May 19th. We'll have more details come out about that soon. And lastly, we will share a survey with you. We really hope you'll take it. It'll take 2 minutes, but your input really helps us continue to improve our programming. It always has for all the years we've been doing this, and we really appreciate your input and your feedback. So please take a moment to fill that out. And thank you. Thank you so much for being here and cheering us on and listening. We would not be able to do this work without you. So thank you for being here tonight and for such a beautiful show, all of you guys. Have a great night, everybody.